Hey, Shalom, Israel. First off, I would like to say, Call Halal, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Rakakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Also would like to say peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, the Akim that's pushing his word in all sincerity and faith throughout the four corners of the earth. For the few sisters that watch and believe, Shalom to you as well. I was reading Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter, and I was just thinking on a few things that I wanted to speak on and bring out some precepts. Hopefully this will be edifying to the body, because right now, as the word is gaining even more momentum than when the prophets that the Lord set up was first set out to preach, and as this word is tearing down this stronghold that Esau has set up, these elites that control this place, man, they're seeing the power of the Lord. And of course, the Lord is going to put the spirit on them, just like he hardened Pharaoh's heart to go even harder on the children of Israel. But the point being made is that these elites hate that there are men of the Lord that are standing up, that who truly know their rightful position in this thing called life. And it's the nation of Israel, chiefly the elect. We were set up to be the rulers under Yahweh Bashem Yahushua of this whole entire earth. And then within that rulership and that government, all of the other nations would be well ordered as well, and having their certain portions, because the earth was created for all to enjoy the substance and everything that the earth yields, not just for one small group of people. Now, of course, the nation of Israel was that small chosen people that the Lord set up to rule over everything. But of course, the faculties and different orders of nations that are under the nation of Israel, they're going to still have their portion, because that's righteous in the sight of the Heavenly Father. That's true balance. And Esau, he's not a man of balance. They want to just have everything if they could have it, and then just leave everybody else pretty much just completely without. Of course, we know that the elite, they have a new world order agenda to really bring down the earth, the earth's population. So, of course, they all have all different types of methods and means, but the main way that they try to do as well is just make it appear that the certain resources of the earth are in limited supply, when really it's just a horde campaign. They take everything, man, to where there's little left for anyone else. And that's not how the Lord intended things to be. But before I ramble on too far, I'm going to just go here to the scripture in Ecclesiastes chapter 5. And I'm going to start down a little bit at verse 8. It says, "If thou seest the oppression of the poor, and violent perverting of judgment, and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they." So that's what the men of the Lord we see all day, every day in this place, man. Just seeing oppression. And even though we don't have physical shackles and chains being driven in chattel slavery at this current time, we're still more in an industrial, mental slavery, and economic slavery, and the powers to be of this society that rule this society, you red Hebrew Edomites, you have the poor being oppressed right now. And it says, "in violent perverting of judgment." And that's what happens. Righteous judgment never goes forth in this place, like it says in Habakkuk, the 1st chapter. It says, "and marvel not at the matter." So we're not supposed to be complicit and marvel at these things, at everything being upside down, just constant disorder, just constant unfairness, just constant oppression. Because we got to always consider that the Most High, first and foremost, he set up these things to be for his will at this appointed time to have the Edomites rule. But we always have to understand and not get caught up at what Esau has going. Even though it could be impressive in a carnal sense, we got to understand that there's someone that we serve that's higher. Verse 9, and I'm going into my point I wanted to make in this chapter. It says, "Moreover, the profit of the earth is for all." So that's what I was saying when I started off speaking, just everything that is within the earth and everything that the earth yields as far as substance is for all people. Of course, the nation of Israel, we were set up to have everything and distribute accordingly to all of the other nations. But the profit of the earth is for all. And Esau, he goes completely against that concept. He wants to hoard up and just stack up every damn thing, man, and just leave everyone else just completely without, where, you know, the earth has enough resources and land and things to where everyone could be in a decent position, to where the earth could be at rest. But we're talking about the man of sin. We're talking about the harbinger of death. He's completely opposite to the spirit of righteousness in all fairness and uprightness, and the spirit of peace. In fact, they promote peace through war. But I don't want to go on a tangent. I'm going to read this again. This is Ecclesiastes 5:9. It says, moreover, the profit of the earth is for all. The king himself is served by the field. So even those that are at the top, that rule and govern societies, they're served by the things that are from within the earth, which the Lord set the things that are within the earth for all people. Now the king, you know, himself, even though he's served by the field, the things that are within the earth, he has the ability to distribute accordingly, you know, to the subordinates, you know, and make everything flow. It's a management, house management. That's what the word economy goes back to. And Esau, he doesn't know how to do it. That's why the scriptures talk about in Proverbs 29 and 1, when the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. But when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, because it's just a lopsided distribution of wealth. And the gap between rich and poor is getting wider and wider day for day. They've pretty much, the elites have eliminated what was known as the middle class. During the happy days of America in the 50s and the 60s, when this place was booming in ingenuity and ideas within the industrial complex of this place, had this place thriving. Infrastructure was being built up at that time, you know. But the point being made, the king himself is served by the field, meaning the things that are within the earth, you know, because Esau, he's even putting hell on farmers. You know, the men that was set up in the earth to labor in the field to have food supply for the earth. You know, Esau is even putting hell on them. And the scripture just said the king himself is served by the field. So these elites don't know they're putting this strain on the farmers, but at the back on the back end, that's going to be detrimental to them as well. But that shows that a death plague is set before the nation of Israel, or before the Edomites. But the Lord is using the Edomites to be the whipping stick to the nation of Israel, rather, while we're in this captivity right now. So Esau, the point being made, he does things that are detrimental to himself as well. You know, he's self-destructive. We're in a self-destructive state of existence right now. That's why I always quote St. Matthew, the 24th chapter, around 22 or 23, where it talks about the Lord, he's going to have to shorten their days for the elect's sake, because we can't go on at this continual pattern in this state of death. That's why it's going to have to be a changing of the guard that's coming soon, man. I'm going to just read a few more verses in this. Verse 10, it says, he that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity. So that's what we're seeing as well right now, man. Esau, he's never satisfied. Here it is, the elites, man. They control a majority of all the world's wealth, but yet they still don't seek peace and just live and exist. They always want to just go on a campaign to hoard up more and to conquer more than what they already have. But this is also vanity, because the time that we're coming into time of Babylon's destruction, and the rulers to be over great Babylon the head honchos, they're going into slavery. They're about to lose their empire. So even though they're trying to hoard up and by that greedy nature, just take things that are not theirs from all of these different nations, it's all going to come to naught. It's vanity. And I know they're empty. You know, it doesn't bring them the birthright back, because that's what it all goes back to at the end of the day. Also, the nation of Esau versus the nation of Israel, those two main players that the Most High set up, going back to Genesis, the 25th chapter. So right now, Esau's in his blessing, having the fatness of the earth and having the ability to rule and dictate pace and policy throughout the earth by the sword. That's been given to him right now, but that's a vain blessing, and he's not going to be satisfied. Verse 11, it says, when goods increase, they are increased that eat them. And what good is there to the owners thereof, saving the beholding of them with their eyes? So Esau, during this time that the Lord has allowed him to reign, he's increased in the earth. The scriptures tell you in Maccabees that basically after Alexander died, you know, evils were multiplied into the earth when his 4 generals set out on their conquest to control the known world at that time. And the point being made in that is that the Greeks, they're Edomites. So pretty much with the start of the Greek Empire, that was the beginning of the Edomite rulership at this appointed time, you know, that we're living in now. It started at that time until now. But they've been able to increase and go on an expansion throughout the different nations of the earth. But everything that they're hoarding up, man, all this big campaign to through violence, get all of the natural resources throughout all of the different nations that are on the earth, it's all for naught. It's not going to profit them in the time that we're coming into, because the Lord, through prophecy, through his word, already set up a time for them to rise up and then a time for them to fall. So, you know, it's all just for the beholding of their eyes. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be profitable. Verse 12, it says, the sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eat little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not suffer him to sleep. So a man that has to labor, you know, his sleep is going to be sweet, because that's a noble thing to labor for what the things that you need to get by, rather than a man who has much abundance, especially if he has his abundance by wicked means, by taking things, by committing violence. You know, it says, but the abundance of the rich will not suffer him to sleep, because mainly with Esau, he has more than his heart could wish, and he always has his sights set on more, so that drive will not allow him to sleep. It won't suffer him to sleep, you know. So even though Esau has all these different things, man, these elites, they're losing sleep, especially because they're being exposed. The fact that the truth is coming out, you know, they're also getting exposed. All of these different dark deeds and dark agendas that they have are being exposed. You know, they're trying to counteract the Most High's plans that are all going to come to pass. They think in their feeble mind that they can offset what the Most High already has written. You know, it says, verse 13, there is a sore evil which I have seen under the sun, namely riches kept for the owners thereof to their hurt. So Solomon, he understood it to the T, because he was richer and had more substance than any king that ever lived. But he understood that it was vanity, because it wasn't the kingdom of heaven, riches, you know. That's why he understood his own plight being vanity and a vexation of spirit, because he understood that his condition was not in the condition of the kingdom of heaven, being in the presence of the Lord, you know, being righteous, having the law, statutes, commandments in our inward parts as a nation of people. But namely for the Edomites, man, the riches that they've got by fraud, by rape, robbery, and murder, These riches gonna be kept to their own hurt. Just going throughout these different nations on the earth, bombing these nations and setting up military bases to have control over all of the natural resources in different parts of the world. These are going to be things to their own hurt. It's going to lead up to the destruction of Great Babylon, because these smaller nations, they're going to all band together to shoot their missiles on this place. The way that they have established a hegemon throughout the planet Earth by their military might is going to come upon their own head. These smaller nations that they've allowed to get the same nuclear capability as far as those warheads, you know, it's leveled the playing field. So the way that Esau has established his empire, sown in wickedness, is about to return upon his own head, man. You know, so these elites are losing sleep, man. And the fact that they know that the prophecies of the Lord are going to come to pass. And also just because they have an insatiable drive to always try to get more than what they already have, even though they have every damn thing, man. It's sickening. But these are the people that are set up to rule at this appointed time. And we got to understand the Lord, he's setting a snare upon their own head. So we just got to allow the Lord to work and do what we're supposed to do in the meantime. But I wanted to get this real quick. This is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." So that's what I wanted to back up what I just read in Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter. You know, it talks about the abundance of a rich man. It won't suffer him to sleep. So these elites that have everything, because they've gained their riches by deception, by rape, by robbery, by murder, by witchcraft, you know, and they have that insatiable drive to always try to get more and conquer more. They don't sleep. They're always working evil upon their beds in their leisure time. In their leisure time, instead of building up their mind to do righteously, to do uprightly, they're conjuring up wickedness. They're coming up with wicked plans, man. And then it says, when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. So whenever they have a lane to be able to execute wicked plans, they hit the ground running, so to speak. Because right now it's in the power of their hands. The Lord has them set up at this appointed time to do as they please. And it says, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And I started off reading in Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter, about the prophet of the earth being for all people. But the Edomites, you read Hebrew Edomites, you covet fields, meaning all of the different lands throughout the planet Earth, because all of the different lands, it has resources. And it says, and they covet fields and take them by violence. So the way that you get control over other people's lands is by violence, man. You send drones and you do all types of airstrikes and bombs. You know, you send your military in to take over lands that are not yours and oppress people's houses and even take their heritage away. I don't have to go into the transatlantic slave trade right now. I don't have to go into the genocide that was put on the so-called North American Indians, which we know they're the Gadites and the Reubenites, the tribes of Israel. But you read Hebrew Edomites, you have a wicked track record, man. And all of these things are being brought to the forefront. But the way that the men of the Lord are able to continue in faith to push on until the Lord makes everything right is because we know that someone's higher than what appears at highest, if that makes sense, man. Because Esau has this world in a spell of witchcraft. Even our own people, man, that were supposed to be given and have the standard of righteousness. But we understand that 2/3 on this side are not going to go with the program of the Lord. You got to understand who the Lord has set as our enemy. He will not stop. He won't stop. He won't change. The Lord set him up to be who he's going to be. So we have to be who the Lord set us up to be. Upright men. But just going back to the point of what I was reading in Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter, about the profit of the earth, the things, the resources within the earth, you know, that's supposed to be profit for all, you know. But Esau, he's always just violating just simple concepts. He's just a complete violator of anything that the Most High set up to be a righteous thing that would even benefit them. That's why he's the perfect devil. This is Habakkuk 2:5. It says, "Yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man." And that wine is talking about those different philosophies, namely things like democracy. You know, he always uses that as propaganda to go in to take down these different nations' leaders, set in his puppet leaders to be able to gain control of that nation's natural resources. It says, "He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and as his death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people." So this is what Esau does. This is his MO. This is his mode of operandi. He can't keep it at home. Here it is, the elites, they have everything. You know, they have the ability to just bankroll nations, or just bring nations to bankruptcy, because they control the World Bank. They control the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. You know, they control these things, the central bank. They control all of these things, man. And rather keep it at home, they always set up flags in other nations. They always have embassies and military bases in these other nations' lands. They'll establish a military occupation if that nation's land has something very valuable, namely like oil. That's why they're in the Middle East heavily, trying to really move into Iran, but going around the borders of Iran, being in Iraq, Syria. You know, this is what this man does. Even though he has everything, you know, he cannot be satisfied. And it says, "But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people." So not only does he want the resources that are found within the earth in these different nations that he conquers by violence, he also wants control of the minds of the people. He wants the control of the people. That's why he transgresses by wine, by his different philosophies, his wicked philosophies that are detrimental to anybody that he comes into contact with. His ways are his death. I'm going to get this 6th verse. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to them, or woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." So all of these different smaller nations who they've been raping and pillaging on, they're going to take up a taunting proverb. And it says, woe means destruction. They're going to destroy America, man. Now that they've been given the ability to enrich uranium and plutonium, and they have the technology and the capability to produce missiles, man, they're going to fire those missiles over here on America, man, to destroy that nation of people that took things that didn't belong to them. And it says, "And to him that laded himself with thick clay." And you go into that word thick clay in the Hebrew is abadia, which means debt. You know, and they put debt on these different nations as well. They'll give these nations these different loans and then put insurmountable interest on these nations. If they're not able to comply to the terms of the loan, then America's over there stripping them of their resources and having a continual occupation. You know, but that's why the Lord is going to be justified in allowing these nations to destroy Great Babylon, man. Matter of fact, it was something else I want to get. Bear with me, Yakim. I'm going to get Ezekiel. That's what it was. Because Esau, he ain't going to stop, man. Can't stop, won't stop. That's how the Most High programmed him to be. He's not going to change. This is Ezekiel chapter 28, Verse 5, it says, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So by thy great wisdom, which Esau does have great wisdom on the left hand side, the Lord has him set up with creating him as a left hand spirit to be in complete opposition mode against all manner of righteousness. But he's going hard in the paint in perfection, just as the Lord intended him to be. And by traffic, just meaning his logistical means to transport goods and services, whether it be people, whether it be ideas, whether it be raw material. That's how he's been able to increase in riches. And his heart is lifted up. He's full of pride because of those riches, because they've been able to rape, rob, murder, pillage, and have dominance and control throughout anywhere on the planet Earth, man. It says, verse 6, therefore thus saith the Lord, power, it says, because thou hast set thine heart as the Most High. So Esau, in his conquest to control and hoard up all of the resources and just control the minds of all the people, really, he's trying to set himself up, especially if he can get everyone to accept the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip. He'll feel as if he's the Most High, because he'll say, hey, I have everything. I control all of the people. I control everything pretty much. So we must be the Most High. Them as a nation of people, chiefly the elite, this is the mindset that they're gonna have. That's what it's leading to. Everything that they're doing right now is leading up to that. But us men of faith, we have to understand that the Lord is going to intervene, because he was only set up for a certain time to do certain things. And the thing that's going to work completely against Esau is prophecy, because the Lord is subject to his own word. Everything that's written is going to happen the way it's going to happen. The Lord, he just set you up to go hard in the paint for a certain time, but the time's almost up. Righteousness is about to be reestablished back in the planet Earth, man, to where everyone's going to get a fair shake, so to speak, except the nation of Edom. Of course, outside of the nation of Israel, all of the heathen nations going to be in servitude and slavery under us. But those other nations outside of Edom, they're going to have their portion of land that they can produce and thrive on. But of course, they're going to pay tribute and give us. They're going to have to give tribute unto the nation of Israel. But the earth is going to flourish. The heathen are going to have a way better state of existence than they do now under these maniacal Edomites. I want to get this real quick, though. I'll just end out on this one. This is Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 10:8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So that's the beauty of the time that we're living in right now. Everyone knows and everyone says that, hey, we're in the last days. You know, you can tell certain prophecies, certain signs that are happening. You know, everyone can feel within their spirit that something devastating that's going to change the entire course of what we know as reality is about to happen at this particular point. You know, I feel within my lifetime, I hope, you know, that's going to change this current course, where a group of people who are just degenerates on every end, they're recessive gene having people, they're just in complete opposition to what the Most High wants on the earth. They just allow all manner of just perverseness and wickedness and just disorder go on in the kingdom that they're in rule of. But this is not going to be for too long, because this kingdom was sown in all manner of wickedness, man, with the killing of the nation of Israel, slaying our people, dragging them over here in slavery, putting hell on the other nations, taking their resources, bombing them to hell, ruining their land where they can't grow anything. The Lord is not going to suffer these things for too long. He's about to establish righteousness, a righteous rule back in the earth. So the kingdom, all of the resources of the earth, the profit of the earth is about to be transferred, is about to be translated from one people to another. And then the proper distribution of wealth is about to be set back in the earth. So the whole earth is about to rejoice. So we just got to push harder and more fervent, just as a collective body of men, so that the Lord will hear our cries. You know, our prayers have pierced the clouds to the Lord. He'll send his son back to redeem us out of here and set us back on top. So with all being said, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect.